people are avoiding jars and cans when it comes to their food, but what's in your baby's food? Well, you don't have to worry if you make it yourself. Julie Fortenberry is a health and wellness expert and dietitian at Touro Infirmary and a good friend to the 504 by now, and you're going to teach us how to make baby food today.
Right. It's such an important decision.
Yeah, it's really interesting because you hear people really obsessive about their diets and being healthy, and you don't even think what's in this little jar you give to your baby.
Exactly, and that's the question you should be asking, because at this age, when they're babies and they're learning to eat, it's such an impressionable age, and this is when their good nutrition really starts.
All right, good stuff. So when do we even know when babies are kind of ready for this and getting off the bottle?
Well, it's important to understand that you have to pay attention to your child. Listen to their clues, make sure that you're paying attention to their behaviors. The first thing is they sit up, they can hold their head up, they sit by themselves, but they should be able to turn away from food. So if they're not interested or they've had enough, they can turn their own head.
Ah, okay.
Watch if they have eaten their normal amount of bottle or breast milk and they still feel hungry, might be time to start introducing some solids. Okay. If they are watching everything that you're eating and they're really into opening their mouth and following the foods that you're consuming, they're probably ready. All right. So just really pay attention to your child.
And around what age does that kind of start happening?
It varies, but it usually can start about 4 to 6 months. Okay. But you'll notice that the baby definitely is interested in food and not as satisfied after their bottle or breast milk.
All right, so once you start seeing those signs, you say start trying to make the baby food if you're going to give them solid food.
Absolutely.
Where do you even begin? How do you know what to put it in? What tastes good?
Well, again, it's going to depend on the child. You do want to experiment with some different things because they will have different likes, but it's important to build their palate. And that's the thing about making your own baby food, is you know exactly what's going in there. You're picking the foods, you're giving the variety, so you're actually controlling. And sometimes baby jar food, there's only a certain amount of options for you. So you feel like that you have to keep feeding these same foods over and over. Well, when you make your own, the options are limited.
I gotcha. All right, so you brought along some stuff you used to make baby food. Kind of talk about what you brought with us and what you need.
Okay, this is a lot of fun stuff from Zuku Baby on Magazine Street. I had a lot of fun in that store. But you don't have to have fancy stuff. You can have simple things. It's really wonderful. All you really need is something to steam or to cook your vegetables or fruits in, however you decide to do them. They've got puree machines where you can use something fancier or your own blender at home. I use a little food processor. It's easy. Okay. And then you want to make sure you have something to store it in. These are little bitty portions, which are great because your baby only needs so much. And so a lot of moms use ice cube trays, just that small portion, and then you can freeze those individually, which is easy enough. You want to make sure that you have your bibs and your spoons and your feeding utensils. But ultimately, just kind of get it all together, and it can be so convenient as long as you plan ahead.
Yeah. What about time? I'm sure a lot of people are saying, I don't have time to make food for the baby. You do it though when you have kids.
You're right, and it's important, but it's just like any other nutrition. As adults, if we want to be healthy, we have to plan ahead. We have to make a plan. We have to go to the grocery store and prepare our foods. Same thing for babies. It does take some time, but you can do all of this on one day and freeze it. It stays good for 3 months in the freezer.
Oh, so that's what I was going to ask, because I know the jar food lasts, what, as long as you leave it on a shelf?
That's what's
probably
interesting.
Is a sign, right?
That's what's interesting about baby food.
But 3 months is a pretty long time, so you could make a lot of this. You could make 3 months worth and leave it in the freezer.
And what I would do, just as a dietitian, I shop in season and local, which saves money, but also gives a variety of nutrients for your baby. And so if you take advantage of the farmers markets or what foods are in your grocery right now that are local, steam them, wash them really good, steam them, puree them, however, individually portion them and freeze them. You've got that for 3 months. So then you're ensuring that your baby's eating those nutrients that we need at that time of year, which is better than buying something off the shelf.
All right, good stuff. And so I wouldn't even know what to start to put in a baby's. You know, they have chicken in the jar and turkey. What are you mashing up for the babies?
Okay, well, some ideas that I like to mix together that are a little bit different. Bananas and pumpkin go really well. And pumpkin is not available obviously all year round, but you can get an unsweetened version in the can. Add a little banana, a little nutmeg or cinnamon. That's a great combination. Babies usually love that. I also do sweet potatoes and cinnamon, green beans and mint.
This sounds good to me.
Doesn't it?
I'm sure babies would eat it. Now, do you taste it yourself to kind of see what it tastes like?
Well, I certainly would when you're experimenting to see what makes sure the flavors aren't too strong. But sometimes people get very nervous about adding flavor to their baby food.
That's what I was going to say when you put, what is it, the cinnamon you said?
Sure, and just a little dab, but it does, your baby, especially if they're coming off of breast milk, they've had the different taste that they're familiar with from the mom. And so these are things that you can transition right into their foods as well, and they usually do very well with it.
All right, so interesting. So don't be afraid to mix up some combinations.
Mix them all up.
Mix them all up.
Give yourself a variety, and that way you're getting different nutrients. That's important.
Good stuff, Julie. Well, we love having you here. Thanks so much for being back with us. And you can take a baby food making class at Touro on Thursday, June 12th. That class begins at 6:30 in the evening, and children are welcome. To register for that, you can call 897-8500. And for more on that and other healthy eating tips, you can visit Touro.com.